Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Wi-Fi chats, the Wise Mind Fireside chats. And this is episode 22. And I have a very simple question. What makes good friendships? Right? We all know how important deep connections and friendships are. But what actually makes good friendships?
I'll start with one word: honesty. For me, I think that's the most important thing. Sometimes there's parts of our personality, there's things that we do that we're blind to, and I think having somebody that can be care about us enough to pull us up when perhaps we're doing or saying things that are not in line with our values. I think friends that know us well, that are willing to do that, can actually really help us grow and progress. So I think for me that's the first thing I want to put on the table is honesty.
I I agree wholeheartedly with that. Honesty in communication, just honesty in how they're showing up, right? For me, I think effort. Effort makes a good friendship. You can't just take it for granted. Like it's a relationship like any other. It takes work. It takes thoughtfulness and consideration and showing up. It's not easy. Having a good solid friendship is not an easy thing to do, and it requires effort. Like if you have a one-sided friendship, it's not really a friendship, right? It's someone else doing all the work. So for me, honesty and effort, two qualities definitely. And actually a shared sort of, I don't want to say things in common, but there's usually something that there's a commonality between you that gets you to connect in the first place. So maybe one common interest.
Yeah, I would say, okay, it can be a common interest, or it could perhaps just be common values, which may go hand in hand. Often, I think people with similar values tend to be drawn to similar interests. So I think, yeah, there's definitely, yeah, you need some kind of connection somewhere along that. But I think often for me, that's probably more values based, than actually doing the same thing. And I think the honesty then is going to lead into trust. Um, if we have a friend that we really trust, and that gives us that opportunity to be more vulnerable, to be open, and then the relationship can then go from strength to strength, I think.
Yeah, and non-judgmental. That's it. Those are my key words, right? Friendships for me are all about not feeling judged for something you've done or maybe not have done.
I think for me, one of the other keywords is reliability, right? If people know they can rely on me, it doesn't even sometimes matter if we were all too busy and we haven't talked in 6 months. We can pick up the phone and continue on where we left it off. Um, Trust, definitely. It's funny, trust is a funny thing because I know there's a lot of stuff maybe some people wouldn't trust me with because I'm not good with it. So that's where the honesty comes in and being real and having this understanding for each other that none of us is perfect. How often have I heard somebody falling out with somebody because of one little thing? They weren't perfect for them in that moment, and they deleted an entire friendship of 20 years because of the one incident. So we all have our sides where we're not perfect. And I think for me, it's also accepting the imperfections of the other person. I mean, I have a really dear friend who is never in time. I will never trust her to be turning up anywhere in time. If I need something done and it's important, I would not ask her because I know she's late. That doesn't mean I don't love her, and she's still a good friend, right? So this honesty, getting to know each other, knowing, and she's very reliable with other things. She's so reliable with other things. I would trust her with a million of other stuff, right? Just not being in time somewhere. So this is for me the idea, and that actually takes the hard work you talked about and the effort, Erika, because I have lost a few friendships because they never contacted me and I got so busy, and it was so hard work to always being the one initiating it, writing, ringing. And they were always delighted, oh, lovely. And then they were complaining, oh, nobody rings me. And how many people have you rang in the last month? How often have you taken up the phone and said, I check up on Brett or Erika or how they're doing? Because we're all getting busy. And that's really true. It takes hard work. That's my 5 friends. Yeah.
This is interesting to me because there's 3 females here, and I have a sneaking suspicion that it's different between men and women, right? Like what women value in a friendship and the way that their friendships work is different than the way men operate in their friendships. Like they handle conflict differently. I don't know if the needs are different. So I'm going to be really curious to hear what Brett says about this. And I wish Alec was here, right? To have a more like a male female perspective to this. And I'm wondering if there are basic differences between the way men and women view what's important in a friendship.
So far, everything that was said, 100% agree, right? The one piece I like to be pushed a little bit. I want to know somebody to the point of I guess pushed is knowing them to the level where somebody would say, hey, you know what? I don't see you doing XYZ. And I know, that piece. I guess that's the more knowing the person and then being like, hey, I would love to see you doing XYZ because you keep saying it, but what's going on? Like that one piece is kind of important. Someone who wants you to have things you want and is not afraid to say, hey, I keep hearing you talk about this. Why aren't you doing it? There's something about that that's important to me. Right? Because you guys may hear me saying certain things and maybe I'm not doing it. Right. So what is it that where's that piece that's missing? And maybe that other person has that piece, and that's why we're tight and we're close because maybe they can offer that one piece and that insight, and then that pushes me into that position of further where things that I really want to do. Right? There's just I don't know. You can keep relationships and friendships shallow. You have certain relationships, I'm sure, that are just hello, and they don't really go deep. But I like the deeper conversations. I like the deeper friendships, ones that I can talk about things that, a lot of people may say, what are you talking about? I don't want to talk about that. I kind of want to talk about those things because those are the things that I think people, well, I'll say I need to talk about, right? Because I can't say that they need to talk about it, but maybe they do. And I don't know. I like the challenge. I like the support in going in a good direction in my life, right? So I don't mind the conversations and the bumps in the road and stuff like that. I think if it's really true friendship, it'll come back over those bumps and everything. Just time. It may take a little bit of time, but then somebody else will see who the person is that steps up, right? Maybe they were the one and they need to be the one to make that step in connecting. So everything you guys said, I think is key. Conflicts, I don't know. Guys like to fight. I don't know. Females like to fight too. So I don't think that's any different.
They fight
Right.
differently though. It's a different fight.
Totally. 100%. 100%. So yeah, it would be good. I mean, I'm outnumbered here.
I liked what you said, Brett, because this is a really nice add-on. A good friend is somebody who is not jealous of you and wants you to succeed and holds you accountable when you talk about stuff and you never do anything, and actually pulls you on your BS, right? That's a really nice
100%.
one. I like that. Yeah.
So what I got out of that was definitely the accountability. But for me, the word that came up was someone who's actually invested in you, right? Invested in you and wants success for you in whatever success means to you, right? Not their level of what success is, but whatever it is that you're striving for, they're supporting you and invested in your best interest. So that was a key point for me to take away about all the friendships that I value have that, right? The friendship, and it's funny. We have acquaintances, we have people that we just say hello to in passing. So I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, I definitely have that, tiered level of access kind of membership to my friendships. You know what I mean? It's like, well, what tier are you at? Like, how much do I actually want to give you access to? Reflects on how I'm showing up to those friendships as well, right? I don't show up the same to every relationship that I have, because we have this sort of internal discernment and like radar system where we know who we can trust, who we can be honest with, and who's giving that stuff back to us before we open up. But that doesn't just come automatically. In my experience, I've had to lose some friendships before I realized what didn't work for me or what I was looking for to elevate myself, because we can remain in friendships that aren't necessarily the best things for us. They keep us in, we all fill roles in friendships. Everybody has a role that they play in, especially if it's a circle of friends. Who's the funny one? Who's the space cadet? Who's the smarty pants? Whatever it is, these labels that we put on. But sometimes if we're not able to be in touch with our own values and what we really are looking for, we will remain in friendships that don't really work for us. So that takes, I think, experience. It takes, unfortunately, losing friendships to figure out what it is that we actually are looking for to elevate ourselves.
I think for me, it's also about being realistic about our expectations. I think what Gabby said, there's certain characteristics that perhaps we trust our friends, that we know they have those certain characteristics, and certain things we can rely on them for. But perhaps other things, they're not going to be so reliable. It's like, I moved house not so long ago. So, I'm not going to ask my 70-year-old friend to come and help me move the furniture, because that's not going to be something that she's going to be very good at helping me with. I've got other people that are strong, and guys that I know that can help me with that. But she might be the one that I know at the end of the day, she's the one that can bring a bottle of wine and sit with me in the evening and make sure I chill and relax, make sure I eat, and I'm looking after myself. So I think we need to kind of, for me personally, I guess I have different categories of friends. I know, this is the person I call when I'm sad and lonely, and I know they're the one that's going to be able to pick me up. This is the person I call when something's broken in the house, or I need some help with some DIY or something. So I think we need to look at each of our friends individually, and what do they bring to the relationship, and being discerning and honest about what we can expect from them, rather than expecting them to give us everything all the time. And also what can we give to the relationship? What do I have to offer to them? So I think it's, again, that's kind of almost being that honesty thing, but not just being honest about the relationship. What is this relationship? Where are the boundaries? Where are the strengths and the weaknesses in this relationship, so that I know what to expect from different friends that I have.
Yeah, I think this is are really, really important points. Brett, sorry, you were going to say, jump in? Okay. You mentioned something, and it's expectations. And I was just wondering, how often are we actually closing ourselves up to people and are not open to people because we have a certain set of expectations? And I don't know about Brad, I'm going to pull you up on the man thing there again in a minute, like Erika did. I'm just wondering, even when it comes not only to friends, but only partners, I have had friends in the past who had a certain expectation on what their partner should look like, even, or be like, right? And I remember one day I had one boyfriend, and I always went with personality, right? And one friend of mine said, what are you with him for? You could get somebody better looking. And I was like, what has that to do with the price of sports, right? What? And I was completely confused. And then I'm often seeing men, especially when they want to be really successful. And it's almost like they handpick a certain type of woman, right? The trophy girlfriend, right? Who looks good in the nice car they're driving. So I don't know if there is an aspect that we actually dig our own hole straight away of actually being open to deep connections, a really good relationship, being it a friend or a partner, because we have a certain expectation what we think they should be like to fit our life.
That's I don't know. I don't have friends that actually like, if I have ever brought a girl around, they'd be like, "Wow, I really like her. She's really cool." If they didn't like her, then I'd be like, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing? Right? So I don't think they've ever said anything. I've never heard somebody say, "Ah, you can do better than her." She's not, because I think they know who I am and they know what I look for. And I would never turn around and say, "What are you doing with that woman? She's, whatever," and throw out whatever adjective you want to throw out there, right? Because that's not, I don't know. I don't think that's kind to that person. Like, that's my judgment, and I don't think they need that piece. If she wasn't a nice person, I'd probably tell them, "Oh, what are you doing with her, man? She doesn't seem like, XYZ." And I've done that to a friend and almost lost the friendship over it because I was like, "Wow, what's going on? XYZ." He's like, "What do you mean? You don't know what you're talking about." And I'm like, "Okay." And it was just got to the conversation where I was like, "No worries, all good." That just showed me where the cutoff point of our friendship was. Like, don't enter this zone because I need to do this for XYZ reasons, or I don't know. Right? To catch up with him later and him say, "Why didn't you tell me?" I'm like, "I did. I tried to tell you, but and now you're not happy. But that's not my problem. That's a you thing. You got to look at that." So, yeah, I don't know. The friends that I keep don't really haven't ever pointed that out to me. Like, why are you with her? Or like, I've never had that piece. Does it exist? I'm sure it does exist. I'm not going to say it doesn't, right? Because there's different relationships, and just the friends that I have not been that for me. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure another guy of relationships are like, "Nah, you need somebody, XYZ. Hey, they have to be this smart and this good looking and this and," but that's them just putting all of their stuff of what they want in a woman. It's like, "So you want me to have your girl? All right, so bring her over." What are you telling me? It's like they want their ideal person for you. So I don't know. Yeah.
I think that goes back to what Erika was saying about being non-judgmental, and it seems like your friends are in that ballpark, which is good. So,
Yeah.
yeah, because we want people to maybe point out when maybe we're not doing things as we should be, if they see that there's a problem. But I think, yeah, being too judgmental can be very dangerous in any relationship. So it's kind of that balance. I think in when to when to speak up and give our opinions, and when it's best to let people work through it on their own. So yeah, I think it's kind of that. Are you asking for my advice? If you're asking for my advice, then I'm going to give it to you. But otherwise, as long as I don't think you're in any danger as such, then, you know, I'm going to keep that opinion to myself. That's, I think, how I would deal with that.
It's like there's a fine line between pointing out a friend's blind spots and straight out judging them for making a decision or doing something. And I don't like feeling judged, and I certainly don't want my friends to judge me. If I'm feeling judged by a friend, they're quickly not going to be on my friend list, because that's, first of all, not a good feeling. Second of all, I don't want to hang out with people that operate like that, right? Like, it's, we are all on this path of doing the work to shed that part of ourselves, because we're all human beings. We all have the tendency to be judgy and judgmental. I personally don't like that aspect of myself. So I am very mindful to not spend a lot of time with people who do that, because it can easily be brought back out in me, and I don't want that. So if I'm getting that from a friend, they're quickly not going to be my friend. Like, I'm not hanging out with them because I don't need it and I don't want to feel it. So blind spot pointing, I think, is a huge asset and necessary in a friendship, a real deep friendship, right? Like, I actually want it. I want people to be honest with me. If they're seeing something that I'm doing or not doing that I'm not seeing, please tell me, because if I'm allowing, I value you enough as my friend to want to hear it. So if I have a friend who doesn't want to hear my spotting of that, then I know that they don't value me and they're not able to handle it.
And I think it's like being aware that it's actually okay to set boundaries within friendships. Just because I'm setting a boundary doesn't mean that, you know, that it's any less of a friendship. We need to do that. I mean, I know that I've had friends in the past that, you know, literally they'll be turning up on the doorstep 3 times a day, calling, messages all the time, and, you know, that I can't cope with that. You know, I need my personal space. I need my quiet time. And, you know, sometimes we just have to say, look, you know, yeah, I love you, you're my friend, but, you know, can we just talk about this? Something within the friendship is not working, and, you know, I'd rather find a solution than just start, you know, cutting you off, or, you know, not answering the phone, or, you know, it's something we need to, as adults, mature adults, we need to sit down and talk about. And yeah, so relationships, you know, they're going to have their ups and downs, and there are going to be times when I think we need to have those difficult conversations, which is something I think we tend to steer away from sometimes, within friendships, because we don't want to hurt their feelings, or but, you know, if we can't have those mature conversations, then what does that say about our friendship?
Yeah. And it's down to communication skills again, isn't it? How we communicate with people, making sure we are addressing maybe something like a blind spot at the right time. Right? Are they open right now in this moment even to receive me, what I'm saying? Right? How I'm going to say things. You know, it's one thing saying, oh, you know, that new girlfriend you have, or that new boyfriend you have, what are you doing with them? You know, this is a language where everybody straight away will be absolutely in defense mode, and we go like, what? But to say, oh, it's interesting you're together with her because I thought you really valued this, and is this the case in this relationship? And just even, you know, point it out. So it's again, it's communication skills, how we talk to each other, how we value each other, and not to judge, seeking understanding, being curious. Yeah, I think if we stay curious all the time with our friends, where they're at, what they're doing, why they're doing what they're doing, what their thinking processes were, and actually proper communicate, I think that's really one of the key factors. Because it will determine how did they receive me. For me, I always think, am I a good friend? And the only way I can judge that is, if they're in a crisis, will they pick up the phone and ring me? If they do, I know I probably was a pretty good friend if they trust me in that moment.
Yeah, I was thinking that before, like my basic, when I question myself, the bottom line is, what makes a good friendship? You know, when you're that person who's getting the 3 a.m. call if somebody needs something. So I welcome those calls. I don't want them. Like, I don't want whatever's happening to my friends at that hour to be happening. But if my phone's ringing, then I know, okay, I must be a good friend for this person. And having those people on your speed dial, that's my checkpoint. Like, if I know there are certain people I can call, then that is the solid friendship for me. So it's a reliability, right? And trust.
Yeah. I think that's maybe a nice point to wrap the conversation up. Is actually, we overthink what do we want from a friendship, or what we see in people. Maybe the question we need to ask to actually have these deep connections is actually, how am I turning up for the friends? Where are my blind spots? What is my communication like with them? And maybe not being shy to actually even ask them. I don't know. Have you ever asked any friend a simple questions like, do you think I'm a good friend to you?
I have actually. I've
Right.
asked, like, how can I be a better friend for you? Like, what kind of friend do you need right now? And you know, am I even capable of doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Any last thoughts, Brad and
Yeah,
Helen?
I just think it's lovely that you mentioned the word curiosity. Curious, and that for me is key to it. You know, am I curious enough about you to really get to know you? You know, deep down, get to know why you think the way you do. Why, you know, that comes from curiosity. And I think if we don't have that, then I think the relationships are always going to stay on that surface level. So I think to get those really deep connections, we need to genuinely be curious to you know, get to know that person, how they tick, what they like, what they don't like. So that's what I'm going to be taking away from today's session is to be more curious.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's what makes the relationship is that curiosity, I think, because that's where you start finding the bigger meaningful pieces and the things that you're into and the things you're going to enjoy, and then you're exploring other things with each other, whether it's, you know, traveling or whatever it is with your friends, and you know, and then when you gather a couple of people who actually really care, right, and they're curious about that group is curious, and you travel with that group, it's just, look, I have a lot of friends, and there's just so many different levels of friends. So when you have that mixed into that friendship, it's just a deeper friendship where you can bring anything to the table, and that they're not going to be like, yeah, I got to go over here for a minute, you know, I got something going on. You're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. You know what I mean? Hopefully the friends that I keep are, you know, I bring something like that up and they'll ask the curiosity questions in support of what I'm bringing to the table. So yeah, that's definitely a big one.
Super. Thank you very much. Erika, any last thoughts?
No, I like the idea of looking at yourself, like, what kind of friend am I being? Right. I can't expect something back if I'm not willing to also be that way. So it all revolves around, check yourself first and really answer honestly, am I being a good friend to so and so? How can I be better before I'm expecting that to come back?
Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope our listeners did find that valuable. And any questions, leave a comment, any thoughts, any experience you had, let us know. And you can contact us below. Our details are in the comments as well. So see you the next time around. Bye.